First of all, welcome. We're here today to debate the resolve the United States should cease the use of standardized testing at the secondary level of public education. You wouldn't expect a rattlesnake to survive in the Arctic, just like you wouldn't test a cheetah for flying when you know it's built for running. Same as you wouldn't take a fish out of water to see if it had the same breathing capacity of a cat. Students are unable to meet the requirements of standardized tests if they aren't built to do them. Standardized tests fail to measure important standards like creativity and responsibility in exchange for monotone memorization. Testing is not working in the United States. Since the No Child Left Behind Act, the U.S. has dropped, instead of going up like it was supposed to happen, the U.S. has dropped to 31st in the world in math and science. Testing is inconsistent. It has been found that there are no consistent positive effects from standardized testing. In 2001, it was found that 50 to 80% of year-over-year improvements were temporary and unrelated to long-term changes. Tests use a sort of tunnel vision mentality. They don't measure skills, just memorization. Some of the traits that we value highly in society and that are necessary to be successful in the working business include creativity, critical thinking, motivation, persistence, curiosity, endurance, enthusiasm, empathy, and the list goes on and on. None of these can be measured through the use of standardized tests. Standardized tests mostly depend on how a student is feeling that one day. If someone only gets 3 hours of sleep because their brother woke up in the middle of the night completely sick and their parents had to take him to urgent care, and he had to watch the rest of their family and comes to school today drowsy, they can't perform as well as they should on the standardized tests, and it is an inaccurate measure of their abilities.
Pull it all the way down and then slow up. There you go.
In the work environment, we're so fine-tuned nowadays to answer multiple choice, true, false, memorize everything you possibly can. In the work environment, we're not prepared. We don't understand how we can use the creativity and responsibility and those aspects of our knowledge to our advantage. Standardized testing has negative effects on the population as a whole. It has been found that over 1/2 of teachers want to leave their jobs because of this teaching to the test, of only teaching exactly what students will find, true and false, multiple choice, of memorization. It has been found that standardized testing steals childhoods. In 2009, there was a study done about kindergartens and preschools throughout the U.S. It was found that playtime and times for creativity and learning had been reduced to nearly nothing, and that now it is almost completely testing, lesson-based, making kids feel like failures before they get into kindergarten. Standardized testing is jeopardizing our future. This lack of creativity causes underachievers. It makes people who don't do well on tests and aren't memorizers feel like they're useless and unwanted in society. We need to get rid of testing before it completely destroys our future and gives us no alternative to continue to thrive.
All right, so -1 if you're following along. Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you. Could you cue up my PowerPoint slides? So first, I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, how many of you have taken a test to demonstrate knowledge in anything? Okay, all of you. Every one of you has done that. Second question is, how many of you would like me to fill your tooth and perform oral surgery on you next time you see the dentist? Okay? No takers? Okay, well, standardized tests demonstrate basic knowledge. So the first question has to be, what's a standardized test? Okay, not what I think it is, not what my friend told me it is, not so I can just complain about something for the sake of complaining. Okay, a basic test that tries to measure basic skills. All right, there was at one point the realization and the admission that the Ames test was written at a 6th grade level. So if somebody can't complete a test at a 6th grade level as a sophomore, junior, or senior, they don't deserve a diploma. It was just to ensure basic skills were taught. Okay? So that was the first question. What's a standardized test? It measures basic skills, not higher level. Okay? Why do we have standardized testing? Well, let me go through that. Okay, so what I have up here is extremes, but this is an actual high school, okay? State of the art. Looks like something that would be just a great institution to learn at. Okay, this is an actual high school as well as that. Now, do you really think that kids are getting the same education? The only way to ensure this is have a broad test. Okay, so here's why it came about. I said, why do we have this? Well, the belief was that students in Wickenburg or in Gila Bend weren't getting the exact same skills as a student at Brophy, Mountain View, Hamilton, Perry. Those type of schools. That's why standardized tests came about. These students who were from an area that was underserved were going to college and were lost, and then what happens? College is much more rigorous than high school. They drop out. So that was wanting to fix something. That was the great purpose of a standardized test, okay? All right, so I jokingly referred to myself as a dentist before, but can you go to my next slide? I want to show you something. These are professions that require a standardized test. Electrician finishes a technical education, still has to pass a test. Doesn't just start working on homes. A teacher graduates with a degree in education or administration. You don't immediately apply to a school. You can't. You have to take a state test. I've had to take them in 2 states. Okay? A realtor finishes real estate school, can't start selling homes until they pass a test to ensure they learned everything in real estate school. Okay? A cosmetologist can't start performing and working at a wedding or wherever, cutting people's hair, putting on makeup, until they have a state licensure. Right here we have a lawyer, okay? You have to pass the bar. Finishing law school does not ensure you will pass the bar. A dentist, that's what I joked about earlier. A doctor, pass their boards. A nurse has to pass their boards. Coach has to take a test from the AIA, Arizona Interscholastic Association. All of these professions have to take a standardized test. And all that does is ensure basic knowledge. Now, the next thing is, standardized tests are used all the time beyond high school. So it might be something students who aspire for a master's, a doctorate, something like that, need to get used to. How many of you heard of the LSAT, the GRE, the GMAT, the SAT, the ACT, the ASVAB, if you're wanting to go into the military? Okay? All of these ensure skills to gain admittance or to show that you have basic knowledge. So standardized test is not the enemy. We need to stop being foolish and wanting a change to something that's not broken. Thank you. So affirmative 2. Miranda's getting ready.
Standardized testing should be abolished in all American schools because it is a poor measurement of student achievement, and it doesn't accommodate to every student's learning environment. And it only tests on a select group of subjects, and it doesn't offer any creativity. Over 90% of students receive test grades on their over 90% of students receive test grades that are 30% lower than what they get on classroom work. Not everyone is a reading learner or a test taker, so sometimes it's very difficult for certain students to do well in testing environments. Our proposal is to first discontinue using the standardized testing system and then implement an open-ended project-based measurement of ability. This allows creative freedom, and when you get a job, nothing is put into multiple choice answers. And with this system, you get to formulate your own answers. It also appeals to all types of learners. If you're a reading learner, write an essay. If you're a visual learner, draw something. If you are a hands-on person, you can build or create something for your project. This allows students to have free rein to demonstrate their academic achievement and creativity. Now, why would the system work? Finland has one of the most successful education systems in the world, with ranking number 2. And how many standardized testing do they take? 0. Finland has more of a focus on creativity, communication, and speech skills, and independence. And this allows students to flourish which is why we should adopt some of their practices.
Okay, affirmative is done with the constructive, so now negative. Do you want your visual? Why are you using it?
Sorry, I touched the one up there. Where is it?
Okay, so this is why standardized testing should not be abolished and why it should be kept. There's a little fact that I decided to put up here on the screen showing that 93% of studies have shown that student testing has increased student achievement across many different forms of education. And as Mr. Johnson said, tests are in the 6th grade level, and if tests are not a way that people can take, and if people aren't able to take tests that are in the 6th grade level through high school and much less through college, then they're not going to be able to do the basic components of any kind of job in the future. And also, there has been studies that have shown that the ACT and SAT have very much improved student prepping for college, and that if intelligence is not a natural occurrence, as is creativity, and if testing is not a good reason for to be used, then why should we have any kind of I guess system that people it doesn't show that if trust, basically if we didn't have standardized testing, there'd be no way to show that people would be fit for a certain job or a certain thing that they would want to invest in. And if we took their word for it, then you could have, say, as Mr. Johnson said, a person who wanted to study for teacher, say, becoming a dentist. And I don't think that any of you want a teacher working on your team who hasn't studied for that. And thank you.
Okay, we have 5 minutes where you guys can converse, we converse as teams.
So far in the debate, what we went over is that standardized testing shows the different kinds of intelligence levels. Projects do not show the different kind of intelligence levels.
Hold on. I'm just gonna stop it since it's the first debate. You summarize first, not what you think. So what have they said, what have we said?
So far in the debate, what we have stated is that affirmative 1 and affirmative 2 have stated that standardized testing shouldn't be a thing, and that creativity and projects should be the way that things should go, because they show the different kind of, they apply to the person, and standardized testing isn't for everyone, and they feel that people should be able to have everything applied to them, rather than, say, standardized testing showing that things in the real world should happen, that we apply to what happens to us. We don't, and also that standardized testing shows main skills, and that it has been shown that they have been at a 6th grade level, so if people aren't able to figure out the different main points of what's important, then they won't be able to, say, just get a degree or anything. And in the real world, the boss doesn't relate to you, say, for creativity projects, as, say, it has been suggested by the opposing team. We are supposed to apply to them. We have to deal with their rules. And we think that everybody in this room or in your classes has the same intelligence level as each other. Everybody learns at a different rate than others. And also, that has been shown, as I did say, that the SAT and the ACT in different tests show that there has been higher college, I guess, grade that people will go to. And this, and also tests give teachers guidance on what to teach and what kind of way that they should, I guess, change their teaching style to fit them, but at the same time applying to their standards. So we do still have a certain level of testing can be for more than just a certain group of people. It can be for everyone, and it has to be for everyone, so you can, I guess, move on to a higher form of education and eventually get a job. And that is all.
Okay, so affirmative 1.
I don't know if this will work better. I got it.
Contrary to what my opponents have stated, a lot of jobs do not require these tests to be effective. If you're going to be an engineer or an artist and you're not tested on your creativity or your capability to react, then you're not going to be a good engineer or artist or technician or technology developer. The work world is not true and false multiple choice tests. Most of the time you're working in a group or by yourself on a project or a development, rather than sitting at a table filling in bubbles. Standardized tests also leave a lot of room for failure and mistakes. The scorers that take these tests into account are overworked and underpaid, and it causes a lot of students to miss questions that they actually got correct. My opponents have stated that for the AIMS test, it's the 6th grade reading level. But if you look at the average adult in the US, they only have a 3rd grade reading level. So the argument that these 6th grade levels should be perfect for high schoolers is completely invalid, because most adults couldn't do well. I believe that we've proven the negative argument wrong, that with projects, they're much more effective than using tests to measure academic levels. In Finland, where it's a subjective teacher grading system, they've been proven to match grades that teachers put to standardized testing, and they found that teachers grade just as well as standardized tests do. And that's, like my partner Miranda said, with 0 standardized tests until the end of senior year, that the grading is perfect, parallel. Thank you.
All right, so back to negative, following the debate format on -2.
One second, Johnson, this thing's messing up. All right, there we go. It's like not, it won't stabilize, so you're good.
Okay.
It-
All right,
it's
so
not strong.
I'm gonna summarize our position. Our position is that standardized testing is fine, that it prepares you for the real world. In the real world, you don't always have a test, but you do have to follow directives. Okay? A boss, a drill sergeant, a college professor don't adapt to you, you adapt to them. Okay? Just like taking a test, you have to adapt. Next thing is, it's not all true, false, and rote memorization, because there's usually an essay portion in any standardized test. So you can't pre-prepare, it's free thinking when you don't even know the prompt. So like with Ames, there was an essay. You had to think on your feet. That's called being a productive person. Okay, next, in college, you're gonna get to know the term blue books very well. What a blue book is the test the book you have to get before you take your final. And a lot of times the professor just says, have your blue book, and they put up a question, and you have to write freehand in a blue book, which has like 10 pages in it. And you just write out whatever the prompt was. That's a standardized test. Now, it's not memorization because you can't prepare for it. It's just showing, did you get a body of knowledge, okay? My opponent said that first, that play doesn't exist in kindergarten. Well, I just toured the Little Pumas daycare center, and my wife taught elementary, and so I've visited the daycare for my daughter, and I've gone to see my wife, and I saw lots of kids playing at recess, so I don't know what world they live in. Okay. Next was, they brought up Finland being so successful. It's not. Finland's base tests, they only take the college track kids for their national testing. Imagine how the United States would score if everyone who we knew was not going to go to college, we didn't have them take the Ames test or whatever Arizona Learns, whatever the new test is gonna be. We would knock it out of the park. Because you'd eliminate all the kids that eventually get sent to an alternative school, drop out, or don't care. But in the US, we measure everybody, so we actually don't score lower than other countries. We score higher. But we take all kids' tests, so the kid who just goes through and goes A, B, C, D, ha, 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 we have to take his score too. Okay, they don't. They have tracking. So when somebody they know is not going to be college track, they learn a trade. They learn to run the street sweeper, they learn to be a locksmith, great jobs that society needs, but it doesn't measure them on a standardized test. Finland only has 4 hours of school a day, and then all of their citizens, most of them, work within their structure. I've seen the Finnish model. Okay, next was, they said that most adults read at a 3rd grade level, so we shouldn't have a test that tests you at a 6th grade level, so we should just dumb down even more. Okay, well, nobody can pass a 6th grade level. Let's not even have a standardized test for that. Let's let them draw some pictures on a poster board. Because we've dumbed our society down so much that they read at a 3rd grade level. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in that society. And so our position is standardized testing measures basic skills. The teachers still teach, the students still learn. Most of the time, when you tell somebody you have to do this, they want to do that. So anytime, any system you have, someone's going to object. This is a workable system. Thank you.
So to restate our proposal, we want to discontinue using the standardized testing system, and we want a project-based measurement of ability that allows creativity. The reason this is good is because it does allow more creativity and more preparation, just in case something happens last minute of the day of the test and you can't perform to your best ability. And it also focuses on things that American students lack, such as speech and communication skills and independence. And to restate what we were trying to say, you mentioned that 6th grade reading level, that the standardized testing is written at a 6th grade reading level. Well, the average American can't read at a 3rd grade reading level. So obviously, if you still do tests after high school, like you mentioned, they aren't effective anyway because we still have reading levels of 3rd grade. And you also mentioned that creativity isn't important, and obviously it is, because if we need to have Turnitin.com and plagiarism tests, then we also need more creativity because apparently some students can't write their own essay. And also, you also mentioned that bosses don't come to you for creativity. This is completely untrue because if they don't come to you for creativity, then why does YouTube email me a survey every 3 months asking me what I would change? And why does my boss at Harkins ask me what I would add to the menu, what I would take off the menu, what I would do? And you also mentioned that the daycare here has playtime all the time. Well, daycare isn't a kindergarten. So unless you expect them to be pressing tests on 3-year-olds, then I think they're doing a pretty good job. And our system is better because it will allow creativity, obviously, and it will eliminate plagiarism because you can't really copy, you know, a project or something you built or something you drew.
Okay, so timeout of 2 minutes for me, somebody. Can you time it out? They're gonna have 2 minutes. Affirmative, you throw us a question first. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to think up a question. We have 2 minutes and then we kind of argue. Then I throw a question to you, you have 2 minutes to respond, we can argue. So you got a minute, okay? Any question you want.
If standardized tests continue to knock out key elements such as creativity and motivation and enthusiasm, how do we expect to survive in an economic future where innovation is everything? We have to be able to think of new ideas and build new things to compete.
Well, since it's really his grade, I'm gonna let him go first, and then I'll respond as well.
Yeah, so if we, there's still a lot of creativity like that is needed in our society, but like standardized testing, like what will happen is when you go into a job, you're gonna need that test to go into that before you even start thinking of ideas. So even before you start trying to create something new, you have to know about that certain topic before you actually start to, I guess, build things or think of new innovations.
You want to respond to the second one?
We're going.
You're talking about how you need that test to get into that job, but if you're based off of that creativity, you'll be doing better. If you don't have that creativity and you're good at passing the test, but then you get there and you can't go anywhere with it, you can't think of the idea, then how are you gonna continue to advance?
Can I add to that, or do you have to go back and forth?
No?
Right, and you also said that you need that to, like, it's fundamental. Well, not all jobs include math and science. Do you think I'm gonna need math to be a director? No, there's nothing I need math for, I've checked. And certain jobs don't need science or math, or reading for matter of fact.
Yeah, but in school, like teachers teach all these different kinds of subjects I guess, in which to prepare all of us for different kind of jobs that we all might go into. Say one of us wants to be, say, a math teacher, one of us wants to be an engineer. We're gonna need some of those different kinds of subjects rather than others. And as for the whole, once you like pass that test and get into there, of course you're gonna need to be creative, but you have a bunch of co-workers as well that can help you out. And somebody might be more creative than, say, another person who's more hardworking and is able to pass those tests. And once you get in, then you're able to start bringing in that creative mindset, but you have to pass that test first to even get into that stage.
Technically, you're talking about your coworkers, they had to do the same thing as you. They still had to take that test and they weren't hardwired for the creativity aspect. It's not like one of your coworkers is like, I'm creative, I can go do this without taking that test. You would have to take the test, and so all your coworkers would be the same mindset as you.
Yeah, but somebody might be more creative than the other person, but we all have to have that mindset of knowing how to take standardized tests. And if you eliminate that, then like jobs in the future, like nobody's ever going to be able to get a job or certain jobs that might help our society. And if you're saying that like it should just be creativity, then I don't think that on a bubble test or like anybody's something that you're going to take, you're just like, oh, is it going to be A or B or C or D? Creativity is going to help them. They're not going to need to like draw a picture to show the different kind of things. You're going to need to know that answer rather than just say, oh, I'm going to draw a picture of, say, like a dinosaur or something.
Well, yeah, there's jobs where you don't need math. I don't teach math, but I use math in my life all the time. There's jobs where you don't need to read daily, but you need to read to be a normal person. You need to read the news, a menu, a cool book. I mean, so the standardized test, like I said, was designed. Are we at 2 minutes?
What? I thought you were gonna keep going,
Oh,
stop.
I said say stop when it's 2 minutes.
Oh, no? My bad.
All right, I'll time it. Hand me my phone.
Yeah, that was too.
Wow. Okay.
That's 3 minutes, 54 seconds.
Yeah, that went way over, sorry.
Like,
All right.
done?
Way to go, Edward.
Guys, shut up.
It was a mess.
All right, so here's our question to you, okay? And we'll go back and forth until the time is up. As a teacher, I've had to, and he helped me with this question, it wasn't just me. I've had to promote kids. It's called social promotion. It's a real thing that failed. This, I had to teach pre-Ames, okay? So I didn't see the value in that, but it was, well, socially, it's going to stunt them as a person. So, well, at least with Ames, somebody squeezes a kid through with his grades, you still don't graduate if they didn't pass the Ames, or whatever new Common Core test is coming, because it is coming. What are you gonna do about social promotion? And don't say, just tell the teachers not to do it. Well, it's not the teachers, it's the people afraid of the lawsuit. Okay, so what are you gonna do about social promotion if you don't have a test to measure knowledge?
The measurement of knowledge, you don't have to use a test to measure it.
Right, what are you gonna do about social promotion?
Can you explain the?
Social promotion, I just did, but I'll do it again. They promote kids who fail because socially it will stunt them. And if it happened before Ames, if you took away standardized testing, it will happen again. It happens in the junior highs tomorrow. What would you do about that?
You don't necessarily need a social promotion system.
Yes, I know.
If the social promotion system is so relevant, then why have none of us heard of it ever?
Because you're not a teacher. It happens. And ask a teacher if they like it, they don't. And so, what would you do quickly if you see a solution?
If teachers don't like it, then why is it there? Why are we letting government control what we can and can't teach in schools?
Because elected officials keep doing it, and they keep getting reelected. That's it, guys. Give us a round of applause.